Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to SeahawkTalk here on the Salve Athletics Network. I am your host, Andrew Pizzelli. We are live every day, 3 to 4 p.m. here on the Salve Athletics Network. That is Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope through Twitter. We've got a great show for you here today. Coming up, Kevin Gilmartin, Joey Moriello, Robert Gomes, Sebastian Nordzi, and we'll close out the show today with Craig O'Rourke II. Can't wait to speak with them and our producers, but first, like always, we want to remind you to keep your distance.
Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity. Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity. Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity. Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity.
That is Ed Habishaw with his rendition of Keep Your Distance, a song from The Shake, local Rhode Island-based band with a message that we can apply to pretty much anywhere in the world right now. Social distancing, hand washing, mask wearing, all of the stuff you've been hearing all about for months now. We're going to continue to promote all of that here on the Seahawk Talk program. I want to go now to our producers, Joey Morelli and Michael DeFusco, to start off today's program. Fellas, how are we doing? Joey has turned into a pixelated blob. But fellas, how are we? And
I don't know.
what do we have here to start the program?
I'm doing pretty good, and I just found this story actually just this second, so I want to share this really quick to get your opinion on this because I'm curious to see what you're going to say, Andrew, coming from a big Italian family as well. So, coronavirus and the potluck dinner, I personally love. That's one of my favorite things. So this is scary news to me. What do you think? But also a follow-up question: do you think moms are going to be happy with the end to Thanksgiving, so they don't have to do as much? They just get to cook for a small group, like normal. What do you think about that?
Well, listen, for me, it will end the cheap person's Friendsgiving, right? That immediately is now off the table. Having multiple people bringing in food. Hey, bring a dish, bring something. We'll have this big giant thing. Now it's all on one person to do it. So obviously that brings the price tag up of having a meal. In terms of the big family get-togethers and things like that, yeah, obviously we should be doing those anyways. I know my Italian mother will probably be cooking for about 50 people like she always does, even though there's probably only going to be 4 of us. So for me, probably nothing much is going to change. There'll still be an army's worth of food on the table. But for the rest of the normal eating world, yeah, coronavirus is going to end these types of things because it's just about, where you want to try and control things, right? You want to control who you're around, what you're touching. If you have a giant table with a whole bunch of food over it, I guess if you tell everybody, hey, go wear a mask whenever you go pick that up. But then again, then everybody's touching the spoon. Do you make sure somebody's cleaning off the spoon? It just starts to become such a headache if you're going to be worried about it. Yeah, I think those types of things could end. I know for us, my friends, we were having Sunday afternoon at my place was I put my gravy in the crock pot. Somebody would bring over something. It was 7-8 weeks in a row going on where we were having people come over to watch a movie, watch the Super Bowl. It was Christmas. We had all these big things lined up in a row, and haven't done anything like that obviously since. So
Yeah.
Who knows when we'll get back to doing that. Kind of goes with everything, I think when the day comes when we're playing sports, when we're back in bars and restaurants together without wearing masks, and when all these other things, we probably have a vaccine, and that's probably we can return to the potluck dinner, and we can all save ourselves some money.
Yeah. Overall, great synopsis right there. I think overall theme, we're going home with a lot more leftovers this year.
Yeah.
And Joey, yeah.
I think if we stopped having Thanksgiving, if it just stopped being a holiday, I think my mom would love that even more. She hates it's kind of in the family, she always gets stuck with doing everything. My grandma's no, not doing it anymore. She's I'm too old, not my problem anymore. Somebody else do it. and my mom always has to be the one who like picks up the slack, and she has to like do most of the work with my sister. So if we just like got rid of Thanksgiving, she'd probably be like, awesome, great, cool, let's never again. Like she hates it.
Yeah.
But like they won't not do it because
But I don't think the number of people coming will affect the amount of food that Italian moms will make. So I think I don't think that's gonna change much. All it's gonna mean is that I just have to either eat more or save more for later. So it's really more about me.
the leftover sandwiches.
It's more about the consumer, not the producer.
God.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was my story. One last takeaway from this: it's supposed to be Thanksgiving. Why are the face masks green and red? I feel like that's more of a Christmas thing. It's supposed to be Thanksgiving, but anyway, a little besides the point, but just a little deeper analysis of the photo right there.
Multi-purpose picture. We'll have to see if they reuse.
Yeah, I want to know what that banner in the back says.
It was Creative Commons.
Yeah, Shutterstock.
That banner in the background, like that's the key. Like it probably says Christmas on it, and they had to blur it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Joey, do you have anything here for us at the top of the program?
Yeah, Coach Gilmartin said there was a tree in the background. So maybe it was a Christmas picture. Yeah, I don't remember how I came across this, but I was just like, we just need some fun extra news that is nothing today to distract us, and I found everyone's favorite thing, penguins. I think this was just like a notification on my phone. It was like Gen 2 penguins are 4 species, not 1. And I was like, what does that even mean? Apparently they're like, these penguins are so diverse. They're like, it's actually 4 species of penguins. And apparently that's like important for like conservation, which I guess it's useful. The most important thing here is they say the tally of penguin species changes from 18 to 21. We have 21 types of penguins now. I don't know what to do with that information, but we need something fun today because it's been a stressful week.
This sort of stuff, species stuff, when they start trying to name or break all that stuff down, the scientists get really bugged. They love this stuff, the classifications, and it can go so deep and so far. I have a friend who's an entomologist, which means they study bugs, and he just got his doctorate, so I call him Bug Doctor, which sounds like a B horror movie villain. But he said like you could have literally almost the exact same bug, but they'll want to like the debate rages for maybe decades over like, no, this belongs in this column. No. Now these scientists, like somebody becomes the head of some department with influence. No. We are going to reclassify, that beetle into here because this is this sort of stuff goes on in the scientific world.
Yeah.
And we laugh at it, but somebody is very worked up right now about the fact that they've reclassified these penguins.
Yeah. It was like the DNA is so different. Like, yeah, they can be torn apart by DNA. They're slightly different in shape and size, as if all penguins aren't slightly different.
Yeah.
Where was it?
That applies to people too. We're all slightly different
somewhere
in shape
in
and size.
Here. Any changes to the classification will need to be reviewed by an international committee of scientists.
Yes.
Is it specifically penguin scientists?
Probably.
Are they just bird scientists?
It's like probably the International Committee Panel on Penguin Speciation Decision.
Exactly. This is what I want to know. This is the election I want to know about.
Can we get the electoral count on the panel of penguin speciation decisions?
Yeah, they talk about like language and stuff being interpretive. I think science is just as interpretive as some of this stuff that they're just putting out there. It's just like 1 minute one person's in charge, it means this, and it's crazy to me. But I'm glad to get some other news like this, Joey. I really appreciate you finding these stories.
I appreciate my phone telling me these things.
Joey, I thought you were gonna pull up the one I got last night that like NASA has identified a radio wave coming from the center of the galaxy.
What? That's awesome.
I'll let you go find.
I'm gonna look into
that. You can go check that one out.
That'll be our end thing
in the break. Yeah, we can. We'll tease that at the end of the show. We'll know whether or not there's aliens at the center of our galaxy. So, Joey, we'll let you go research that. Get in touch with NASA, and we'll let Michael produce the rest of the show. So.
Yeah, Joey, you focus on that. I got that. No worries.
All right, fellas. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
All right, that's Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. We're going to go now to our first set of guests. Head coach of our football team, Kevin Gilmartin, joined by running backs Joey Moriello and Robert Gomes. Fellas, how are we doing?
Good. How you doing?
Great.
Good.
Doing
I
awesome.
want to get your thoughts on what Michael brought up here at the beginning about meal sizes maybe decreasing here with the removal of the potluck, or if smaller party sizes. Joey, I'm sure you can weigh on this. I don't think Italian's going to cook any less this year for Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
right?
honestly, I don't think that plays much of an effect. I know my family will still be cooking up a whole lot of food with a lot of leftovers, so I'm not too worried about it.
Well, big thing with us is we always had Thanksgiving. Everybody came back to Long Island. That's where a lot of my cousins lived and everything. So we always had about over 40 people at our Thanksgiving. So unfortunately, we're not all getting together this year. This is the first time in in my lifetime that I haven't been with my cousins for Thanksgiving. So that's definitely different. But so I'm not going to be getting their cooking is the biggest thing. But I'm fat enough as is, so I guess I can lose a little weight there.
And they're probably happy not to see you or get any of your cooking, right, Kevin?
Come on, be nice today. Be nice.
Robert, I guess we'll get your take quick. Any input on the Thanksgiving cooking thing here?
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with Joey. I don't think my family will probably be doing anything much different. Thanksgiving's a pretty important holiday for us. We like to eat, so.
One of the things Kevin brought up to us, and it's something, it's like every year, when we do our end of year things, Salve football has had the leading rusher for, the last 2 years, or 2 of the last 3, or 3 of the last 4. 4 of the last 5 years, you guys have led the conference in rushing. What has led to that success? Kevin, from your standpoint, and then for you guys as backs, what do you do to prepare and try and keep that up? I'll let Kevin go first.
Well, first thing, I mean, like the biggest part of our offense is definitely a balanced offense. We're not a run team. We're not a pass team. We're just trying to get in the end zone as fast as possible team. So, I think that's the fact that we've had the leading rusher in the conference for the last 5 years. That's something that we're definitely proud of. But I think that comes down to the work ethic of the offensive line and the running backs. They're constantly putting in that effort to improve and everything. I always like to say in the backfield you need war horses, guys that are willing to put in that effort. And we've always been blessed to be able to go out and get great running back recruits where we don't just need one guy to carry the load. You can have multiple people back there so that they're fresh legs throughout the game. I think that's the biggest piece is that you're able to have multiple guys back there. I mean, you look back to either 2016 or 2017, and I think Sam Pascal had 1,400 yards rushing, and James Dawson had 900 yards rushing that year. But meanwhile, I think Brandon Basil was still throwing for 20 touchdown passes that year. So it's still that balanced offense. But you need, the effort and the heart. I think the run game is really a heart and an effort thing, and I think that's something that Salve's always been proud of. Is that they're always going to bring heart to the table, and that never give up attitude. And I think that kind of can be displayed, and then especially when you have some pretty good running backs that can hold the rock, like these two that we have on TV today. And so we'll let them talk about it.
Yeah, so one thing that I would say is pretty much it all comes down to being in sync with the O-line, because honestly, we have one of the most talented groups of O-line that I ever played with. So when you're in sync with them and you guys are both on the same page, I mean, it's kind of just bound for success. And I know Coach Gilmartin goes hard on recruiting the best that he could get on O-line and running back. And when you just have 2 groups of positions working the hardest they can on and off the field, in the off season as well, it just everything clicks and things work.
Yeah, I'd say the O-line is a big part of it. I mean, our O-linemen, we have a pretty good group of O-linemen. They like to hit. They like to be in the trenches, which when you're a running back, that's what you want to see. And when you have confidence in your O-line, you're going to run with confidence, which is a big reason why we've had good running back cores in the past and hopefully in the future.
Kevin, one thing from being around you guys for 6-7 years now, I feel like you guys have always had a good diversity of backs. You have some guys that are the shifty guys, some guys are the bruising guys. Not in different years, but kind of all at once. Each year you kind of have a stable backs. How important is that to have kind of a diversity in your backfield of different types of running backs, so to speak?
I think that goes parts of the recruiting as well. I mean, obviously, when we start the recruiting process, we're looking at players and we're saying, okay, what can he do out on the football field? Well, there's other places that say, they got to be a certain height or a certain weight in each position. But because we just say, what can you do on the field? And then we'll figure out, what you can do for us with that. I mean, you look at the picture here, everybody on the screen is, 5 foot -2. And so, none of us pass the look test when it comes to football players. But yet at the same time, I mean, Joey's a little bit quicker than Robbie. But at the same time, they're going to bring different skills to the football field. I mean, Joey's quick, Robbie's a little more powerful. And because of that, having that great balance. And when I was growing up, you had Tiki Barber, Thunder and Lightning, and Ron Dane. You had the two of them. Thunder and Lightning was great as a Giant fan. I've always said, like, it makes so difficult for a defense when they have different people coming at them with different waves and different speeds and different power, and because it's just endless. And I think the only way you can do that is when they're selfless as teammates, and that they can rotate themselves, and then because they believe in one another, and they're okay with putting themselves on the sidelines to let their teammates step on. And I think that's something that I'm always proud of, that you got offensive linemen and running backs, and throughout the entire team, where they're selfless, they're willing to do whatever's best for the team.
You guys as backs, do you think about that? Like, oh, I'm a slasher, or I'm a bruiser, or do you just focus on, hey, I'm a running back, I'm just going to do my job?
Yeah, I definitely consider myself more of a shifty back, so I wouldn't consider like lowering my shoulder against a very large kid. But no, we're aware, and like Coach Gill said, we are very selfless when it comes to subbing each other out. So we're not going to push ourselves to like the max. Obviously, like, we're going to take breathers and sub each other in and get everyone involved.
Yeah, I think to be a good running back, you need to know what your strengths are and what you can't do. Like Coach said, I'm more of a powerful runner, so I look to go north and south. Even if I see a tiny hole, I'm going to try and push to get the 4 or 5 yards, because that's what I'm good at. I'm usually just as strong, or if not stronger, than the linebackers I'm going against, so I can usually drive for an extra few, which is my strength.
We've spoke with Kevin about how there's been a lot of alumni on the coaching staff. Have you two, I know you don't want to think about post-football career, but have either of you thought down the line that you'd be interested in coaching someday?
I personally, I think it's just really cool that some kids do that. I just don't have the football really knowledge. Like, I love the sport, and I'll do whatever I can to get better at it. I just am not really the smartest kid on the field, which I'm completely fine with admitting that. I'm sure.
Take ball, score touchdown, right?
Yeah. Just do your assignments and pick the team up. That's it. But no, I really haven't. But I respect whoever does, because it really is cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool that we do that here. And for me, myself, I think in the future, that's something I could do. It's good to get a year experience for college football. You can put that down your resume and go back to your local high school, or maybe even the high school, and be in a position to get a head coaching job or a good position there and make a little bit of money. So I think it's something I could see myself doing.
Yeah. It's also pretty cool that you see a lot of Salve alum do come back and coach, because it really shows how much of a family Salve is and how they do have your back after you leave. So that's pretty cool to see.
Kevin, does you just let that, it's going to take care of itself? If guys are interested, they'll come to me, or do you kind of like, do you initiate some of those conversations sometimes, like, hey man, like, I would love to have you come back and coach if you're interested. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
No, I think that's one of the cool things about where we are with the Salve family, is that everybody on the team, I think I would love to have them come back. I don't think there is one guy that's on that team that you wouldn't want to come back. I think that's the great thing. I think unfortunately, it's like they stick around for that year while they're trying to get their masters and everything, or they're trying to figure out what exactly they're going to do for the next year. Or they're thinking about becoming a college coach or a high school coach, whatever it is. But each year, you're wondering, is it going to fall into place? You're hoping it falls into place. I guess that's why I get these gray hairs right here. I guess that's what's coming in, because you never know how it's going to shake out, and you're hoping that it comes down, and you get the right people. But it has worked out every year where we're getting, great people to come back, and it works out at each position too, where they just happen to come back. And so you have conversations with the guys from their probably like their freshman year on through about, what do you want to do after you graduate? So you get an idea of, what each person wants to do. And then, so you have that open dialogue. So before it even gets to that point, they're asking me, Coach, you think you'd be interested in having me back? And so, like Robbie said that he'd probably be interested. So yeah, we're interested in him. Joey said that he wasn't interested. So forget him. I'm not interested in him either.
No, just coaching.
You want 5 more years of carrying the rock. You would love that. Anyway, fellas, thank you so much for coming on here today. That'll do it for our time here. But love talking to you, Kevin, each week, and love how we've been doing this. I like this little thing. We get 2 players on every week, and we're a different position group each week, so we get different perspectives. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck with the rest of the fall, and like we've been telling everybody, hopefully we'll see you guys out there on the field this spring.
Yep. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, take it easy now. That is Kevin Gilmartin, joined by Robert Gomes and Joey Moriello. We're going to go now to the head coach of our women's volleyball team, Sebastian Nordzi. Seabass, how we doing? Oh, and he's got stuck on the mute button. It happens to everybody. No big deal. Oh, still quiet. Oh, technical difficulties here for Sebastian Nordzi. This is the clock is ticking. I think Seabass is gonna go out and then try and come back. Let's see. Whoop. Can you hear me? Ah, no good. You know what? It might be your headphones. That is definitely not working. All right, we'll let Seabass jump off here for a minute. We're gonna take a short commercial break, while we set out the technical difficulties. We'll be right back with Sebastian Nordzi. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli. We're going to go now. 3rd time's the charm for Sebastian Nordzi. Seabass, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We are live. Contact. Go ahead now and let's get the update on the women's volleyball team. Where are things stand right now? Do you have any practice time left? I know a lot of teams are starting to ramp down now. So where does your team stand at the moment?
Yeah, so we're actually done for a little bit. We had our last practice on Halloween. We had a nice little fun Halloween costume practice. I think I mentioned this a couple of times, but we're just kind of in this little lull period until we find out what our conference schedule is. And then when we get back to campus after the little break, that's when we get started again.
When will you know those things? When will things crystallize as far as knowing schedule, things are going to be moving forward for you, competition? When was that? What's the timeline for that sort of thing?
The conference coaches had a discussion about that, and we have some ideas of what's happening, but we haven't set anything definitively in stone. So we're waiting until the athletic directors, the presidents of the conference all get together and decide, like, all right, here's what's going on. Here's how we're going to balance fall sports with the winter sports and with the spring sports, all happening at one time. So once we get that, we'll have a better idea of what we can do going forward. And the conference coaches will talk to each other, figure out a bunch of dates to have their competitions, and then we go from there.
I want to try and pull up right now because you mentioned Halloween practice. So let's see if we can effort this. So we've got some pictures here from Halloween practice. really, really great. I mean, this your team has always really had brought it with the Halloween practice, and I would say so far this year didn't disappoint either. Talk about the fun of that, and good to just have that something fun and energetic, and still having it be volleyball. It just has to be so good for everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, they've always brought it every year, and this is my first year experiencing it. But every single person I talk to is just like, "Hey, can I be a part of your Halloween practice? Like, I just want to see the girls in their costumes because they go so hard at it." Um, but as you can see, they did a great job. They all dressed up. I gave them one rule is that you have to be able to play in it. And as you can see with this picture, they are able to play in it, and they did a good job. Between the two freshmen being M&Ms together, the girls being Powder Puff Girls, the two winners, which I thought was hysterical, was Nicole and Mia, and they were the sweet life of Zach and Cody. As you can tell with their kind of like the blonde hair and the outfits. Mia was pretty funny with it too. She walked in with like a mug of coffee or hot chocolate or something, and I was like, "Mia, you look like my dad with a sweater vest and the mug and everything."
That's great. Now, who is this here in the shark head? And did they practice with the shark head on?
So the shark was Meredith, and she's actually looks like she's eating Olivia right now, who was a mummy. So that was pretty funny.
That's great. So the practice stuff has ramped down. How would you summarize how the fall went? Obviously, complete unknown. Everything was unknown and unconventional and different. How would you kind of sum up how your team handled it and how things went and what you were able to accomplish?
Yeah, so overall, I thought it was a very successful fall season. We had a little adversity going on with the whole pandemic and what we can do, what we can't do, new coaches, new players, the whole list of adverse situations. But bit by bit, we were able to just get through everything. We were able to get into the gym and have a great time every time we were in the gym. We stayed focused, we stayed competitive, and it just I feel was just a good breather for everyone with the stresses of what's going on between academics and outside life. Coming into the gym, leaving all the baggage at home, you get to play for an hour and a half, learn some things, hang out with your friends, and then you're feeling refreshed to take on whatever you need to take on after practice. So overall, I do believe it was a very successful fall season, and I'm very excited to take that into our spring season and the next year's fall season as well.
Obviously, you're a first year head coach with the program, and everything was going to be new no matter what. Going through the whole experience of the shutdown in the spring and the summer, and then how an unconventional fall. What would you say you've really learned about your team? Because you had to learn about your team. It was a new team. What have you learned about the team? And then the flip side of that is also like, what do you feel like you've learned about yourself as a coach through all this?
Yeah, so about the team, I've met the team plenty of times in the spring over Zoom meetings. And, before the whole pandemic happened, we had little one on one meetings about everything. But there's just something about seeing people in the gym interacting with each other as teammates, as people that really just shines a light of who they are. You can be behind a computer screen and kind of get an idea of someone, but once you see them in the gym, they're interacting with their teammates, they're communicating, then you get to see their personality. You see them make a mistake and smile and shrug it off or whatever, or you see them like really internalize it and try to get better for it. But you notice those things and you're like, all right, that person does this, that person's like this. So I feel like I have a much better grasp of who these athletes are as people. And it's been really great for me on my end. In terms of me, what I've learned is I've learned to be so flexible with everything nowadays. It's with everything else in this pandemic, everything changes day by day, it feels like. So I've had plans in my head, be like, oh, I'm going to do this. I can't wait for that, yada, yada, yada. And then something changes. It's like, all right, back to square one. So it's been good for me just to over prepare, I feel like, because I hate being under prepared. So when I get that, hey, we can't do this because of this, or we can do this because of this, then I'm like, all right, cool, let's go with it.
So in a way, is that the way you'll take advantage of? There's going to be the break, with the practice ending, and then not knowing for a while when you could be on the court again. The silver lining is that that's just time to prepare, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I do plan on taking that time just to reflect on what happened this past fall and just to see how we can better manage the program, the athletes, the staff, anything that needs to be managed, how we can do that better, more efficiently going into our spring.
Awesome. Sebastian, always great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. Can't wait to hear what you have for us next week.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
All right, take it easy now. That's Sebastian Nordsey, the head coach of our women's volleyball team. And we're going to go finally now to Craig O'Rourke II, the head coach of our men's soccer team, to round out our programming here today. Craig, I know it's probably tough right now. 1-0, Arsenal is trailing. So tough afternoon for you so far. Nothing. Just nothing.
Just gonna ignore you if you're gonna talk about Arsenal trailing. So,
I mean, I'm just trying to talk about facts here, but we can.
yes, we're down 1-0. It's early, 23rd minute. Europa League match versus a Norwegian champion that, quite frankly, really should not have much of the ball going at our frame. But opportunistic little strike, nice little curling shot. I think it caught us by surprise. But I haven't seen first half stats yet, but I think we've had the majority of the play. I'm sure we've had the majority of the possession, and hopefully if we can momentarily get our collective heads out of our collective derrieres, we can secure the 3 points at home at the Emirates.
61% of the possession for those wondering.
Oh, you got the stats up. Hey, I don't care what anyone else says. You do have a use. There we go. That's a tiny little screen. I'm sure most of our fans. Shots on target. 2-1, 61%, 212 passes, 88% pass accuracy. See, that's commanding possession right there. We should be dominating that.
Craig, this is the value and strength, of Mike DeFusco and Joey Morelli working tirelessly behind the scenes. No better production crew in the D3 sports talk show landscape than those two.
As I always say, the mark of every good head coach is to surround himself with knowledgeable assistants. The mark of every good sports information director is to get some good student work studies that do all the real work and just make us look good.
Let's get now to, we'll check in with Arsenal before we're done here, but let's get the state of the union of men's soccer from your chair.
Okay, what's the question? The state of the union? The union is strong. The union is going forward. We are here. We are not. Wait, what do you want?
No, give us the update with where your program is right now. Have you guys concluded practice? I know everybody's kind of on different timetables. So if you're done, then kind of give us the summary of how you feel the fall went, and what you've got, what you think you got from your team out of it.
6 weeks, 4 times a week is a great limiter, especially when you are a true fall sport and you gear up all summer long and make plans and preparations and send out the 100 days email, the 75 days email. You count it down to preseason, and you're announcing 20 days before preseason, hey, by the way, there is no preseason. It's tough for us. A lot of us in my sport are biochemically geared that as the temperature starts to change and the leaves start to show you a different color and fall to the ground, our blood starts to really pump and boil, and we're getting ready to get going and face live opponents and have, postseason aspirations and get back to the national stage. And this season we couldn't do that. We weren't allowed to face a live opponent or engage in any kind of intercollegiate or interstate travel. So we brought in arguably one of the most talented recruiting classes. I think the freshmen we had in program quickly showed what their qualities are and what their characteristics are and what they were capable of doing both on as well as off the ball. I wish they had been tested against a live opponent in match to see whether or not we could truly incorporate them into the system. Soccer is a sport that should be trained at a high level, but is ultimately properly evaluated in live match circumstances. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that this fall. but the state of the union is good. We've had 4 of our top 5 recruits for the 2021 class already on campus. They seem to like everything we have to say. They all have their applications in by the early action deadline. There's another 10 to 15 recruits lined up behind them. So I think our record over the last 2-3 years speaks for itself. And having availed ourselves to the national stage and then competed on the national stage, and having not lost on the national stage, and drawn with Rowan in the NCAA tournament, a team that eventually in the final poll was number 16 in the country, I think has served us well. We haven't dropped a conference game now in 3 calendar years. I think most people would say we're arguably the top, if not one of the top CCC teams. So there's a lot of talent out there that is looking at us and liking what we have to offer and trying to get on our radar and ultimately get invited into our program. So I think the state of Salve Regina men's soccer is strong. It's a good state. It's a state that I like. It's a state that does not have a high infection rate, which is also good in this day and age. So we don't have to worry about showing up in any travel bans. But yeah, let's get this damn pandemic over with and get back to things that matter, like college soccer.
You mentioned recruiting there and having recruits on campus. What have been the challenges of recruiting this fall? How have you handled those? And how do you feel that the recruiting is going? Everybody basically is probably in the same boat everywhere, so it's not like one team is or one school is disproportionately affected than the other. But how do you feel it's going?
I disagree. There's a disproportionate effect across divisions right now, with D1 still being in a blackout period. D2 mirrored that. So all the schools that had the NLI dollars to offer weren't able to really engage in any type of recruiting activity. They couldn't go off campus. They couldn't come on campus. They couldn't stream. They couldn't call. They couldn't email. I was loving it being a D3 head coach. It's great. I was always like, hey, how's vacation going to the D1 guys? Because they couldn't do squat. I mean, they were literally handcuffed by the association. D3s, for us, and particularly for me, with the way that we run our recruiting, everything's in cycles. It's a year-round cycle. We set the fall recruiting schedule. We execute the fall recruiting schedule, get the evaluations done, make the email, make the contacts, bring the class on campus, engage in the official overnight visits, set the spring and summer recruiting schedule, execute the spring and summer recruiting schedule, enter the evals, send out the emails, and it just kind of keeps cycling. You're recruiting 365 days a year. What was tough was we did that after the 2019 season, a season that saw us go to the NCAAs, and gave me a good amount of material with which to market the program and attract the top talent. And as we cycled through the fall and winter season and had the official overnights and brought the top recruits on campus and got them to commit, we were supposed to be then engaging in our spring and summer recruiting schedule. And luckily, I did a great deal on the front end. I went to 2-3 events in January, 2-3 events in February, and really started formulating my 2021 recruiting class during January and February of 2020. Then you really gear up and you get really going. You're out 4 weekends in March, a weekend in April, and then, holy cow, May and June, you're pretty much flat out. May and Memorial Day is quite literally the biggest recruiting weekend of the calendar year for the sport of college soccer. And those were all canceled from the first week of March on due to the pandemic. Things were canceled. So I was actually extremely fortunate to have done as much on the front end as I did, because right now I'm reaping the rewards of that in the fact that we do have a very strong 2021 class formulated. We have set the fall recruiting schedule. It will kick off this Saturday. We have an ID clinic up in Weymouth. We've invited a great many kids to it. We're going to see even more play at it. We did execute an ID clinic back in the first week of August in the same facility, Union Point Sports Complex in Weymouth. That probably had about 250 kids that we were able to evaluate. And that kind of put the final cherry, I think, on the 2021 class. The biggest problem I'm having right now is as infection rates start to increase, whether or not states are going to clamp down and roll things back to a phase 2 type situation, and whether or not all the ID showcases and clinics and tournaments that we currently have scheduled over the course of November and December are actually going to take place. And I don't know if that will truly impact my 2021 class. What that's going to do is start to handcuff us in terms of formulating the 2022 class and starting to look at high school juniors. You're always recruiting 1 to 2 years ahead. You don't want to just now be starting on high school seniors. You should have a very, very good idea of the high school seniors you want at this stage in the game. And we do. And those that we want have plenty of other people that want them as well. So, I mean, we're trying to stay on their forefront, the front of their minds, the front of their thoughts, and, make sure that they know that they're on the front of our thoughts and planning process, and that their names at the top of our tier 1 top 10 list. So recruiting is always what you make of it. People that hide behind the pandemic and say, "Oh, you can't recruit." Well, you know what? Develop alternatives. All the pandemic is very similar to the weather or the bad official on match day or the opponent that has the hot goalkeeper. It's just an obstacle you have to overcome. And luckily, with technology and Zoom and video and YouTube and this, that, and the other thing, there are ways of overcoming it. And you can stream games and watch games. I mean, I'll be the first to admit I'd rather evaluate a kid live and in person to get a genuine feel of the game, a feel of the opponent, what the weather's like, the chill in the air. But
I haven't met a coach yet who'd rather
what you
do
got.
it. I haven't met a single coach yet who'd rather watch video than be there in person. So
No, you want to be there in person. You want to feel the emotion of the crowd, and you get your own heart pumping and really evaluate it in a live format. I always prefer the live evaluation to video evaluation. Although, God, I have watched more video, and that's the nice way of me saying I have watched more shit video. Can I say shit on this stream? Can I
I
not
don't
say
think
it?
so.
I didn't say that.
That's
I've watched
2
more
strikes.
low caliber, poor quality soccer video than I would like to admit to myself, simply because, some of these kids think these things are highlights. They're not. They quite frankly show me things that I don't want. And as much as you watch that, when you watch one that is good and shows you a caliber of soccer IQ and a degree of understanding, and not only shows you what they do on the ball, which is what every kid thinks the only thing that matters is what you do on the ball. When they actually show you what they do off the ball and how they add to attacking shape and how they can penetrate not only with the pass, but also with the off the ball run, then you can develop a real appreciation, because that kid stands out. That's the kid that, we're all lining up for, because he's going to help you across 90 minutes when he only has the ball in his foot for, say, 3 or 4 of those minutes. So you want that kid. And it's nice to get video like that stands out and can directly be applied to the college game.
I wonder what the resources are available for most. If you're a college athlete trying to go pro, you have agents. There's people who probably help. There's agencies to help. For a high school athlete, there's probably not many resources for somebody telling them, "Hey, this is how you're going to want to break down your tape. These are the things you're going to want to show. These are the things you're going to put out." That could be an area that maybe grows the more and more if COVID lingers and in-person scouting doesn't come back right away. What do you? You're shaking your head. Do you disagree?
There's nothing more to grow. There's quite frankly about 100 to 150 services and agencies out there that will do exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I literally spend probably 10 minutes of my day deleting them all, because they market everybody. If you will pay them the $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, they will take any and all film you have. They will make your profile. They will make your video, and they will try to spin you as best they can to college coaches like myself. And there's more out there than I can even begin to list for you.
Wow.
And it's quite frankly pointless. You don't need to spend the money. What you need to do is write a crafted email. First and foremost, get my name right. Don't address me as Coach Reddish. I am not Coach Reddish. He coaches at Stonehill. I coach at Salve. That's the biggest mistake I get. I quickly forward those on to Coach Reddish and say, "Jim, I think this was meant for you."
You're getting Reddish talking about this right now.
So, I mean, all you got to do is just do it yourself. If you have film, upload it to YouTube, get it on a third-party source, send me the video link that I can access, and I'll look at it. If in the first 6-7 minutes you're showing me film against the school of the dumb, deaf, and blind, then I'm going to assess it as caliber of opponent. Anybody can look good playing that school. You got to play a school that actually shows me a good quality of opponent that you have to overcome and execute a good level of soccer. So, I mean, it's just having a degree of knowledge and forethought as to what does the college coach want to see. And being able to plan that out and being able to execute that properly also conveys a degree of soccer IQ that might be applicable at the college level.
Yeah. Last question for you, Craig. You talk about wanting to build good habits, build routines. Have you really baked 4 upside down pineapple cakes the last 4 weeks? And will you be making a 5th?
The 5th one actually currently is sitting on the counter waiting to be cooked. It's pretty easy. I was actually shocked. Pineapple upside down cake is something that I fell intensely. 1-1! Sorry. Arsenal just scored to level that against Mold. Beautiful goal. So help me God if they call that back. Do not call that back. There's nobody off.
Remember that we are live on the air, Craig.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. This armpit rule, I'm so tired of this. These were good goals once upon a time, but they're calling it back. It's 1-0 right now, still the Mold.
What happened? What did they call back? What was
they called offside? Because the Nketiah's armpit was ahead of the Mold striker when the ball was played into the 6. That's VAR is lovely and everything, but it's really changed the game. Regardless, what was it? Pineapple upside down cake. So I fell in love with pineapple upside down cake while I was coaching up at Bridgeton Academy in Maine, and I don't know if I'd ever had it prior to that. Pineapple itself is a fantastic fruit. But we're not talking about like fresh pineapple. We're talking about straight out of the can, the big rings. And so you line the bottom. Well, first thing you do is you melt like 3 sticks of butter. This is a butter intensive recipe. So you melt like a whole mess of butter in the pan. And then you take brown sugar. And if your 2 principal ingredients are butter and brown sugar, hey, you can't go wrong. So you take a mess of brown sugar and you put that over the top of the butter. And then you take pineapple rings and you just press them into this buttery brown sugar concoction. And then all you need is yellow cake mix, and you make it as directed on the box, but you replace the water in the mix with the pineapple juice from the can. And that really is a flavor to behold. And with all the butter that's going to creep up into the cake mix that you're pouring on top of the pineapple, it really just becomes a super moist pineapple-y goodness. Maraschino cherries get pressed into the pineapple rings, into that brown sugar butter concoction. And then you bake as directed, which is like 350. Now, ultimately, I'm getting my proportions and ratios wrong, which is why that I'm on my 5th one, because the hallmark of pineapple upside down cake is that gooey brown greatness that is just encompassing and circling the pineapple on top of the cake when you flip it over and take it out of the pan. And that is developed through a very proper proportioning of butter, brown sugar, pineapple, and overall moisture that I haven't quite mastered yet. Now, the beauty is practice makes perfect, and I get to do, oh, there it is. That's the stuff we're talking about right there. And that's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get the proper ratios of brown sugar, butter, pineapple, and moisture to create that brown, gooey goodness. And that is what continues. So far, when I followed the recipe almost to the letter the first time, that's been the best so far. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I've kind of tinkered with the amount of butter, the amount of brown sugar. I always think if it tastes good, bring on more. That hasn't quite worked out. The moisture of the cake has definitely increased as I've increased brown sugar and butter ratios, but the overall gelatinous gooiness hasn't increased, and that's really been my downfall. So the 5th one is due up probably this weekend. I'm also roasting ribs this weekend because my dad likes ribs and pork ribs. God bless COVID, but you couldn't find pork ribs this summer to save your life. No, it was brutal, absolutely brutal. And I love rubbing down. As I told my in-laws, I will rub my meat for them. They got the joke. And I roasted like 2 full racks of ribs, and I wound up eating the 2nd rack for myself, and I actually made it for my father.
That's the bigger question here with the cake. Are you saving these cakes, or have you said, no, guys, don't eat this cake. This cake's no good. I'm going to have to just eat this one for myself. Or are you sharing?
Who are these hypothetical guys that I'm speaking to in your version?
Your family. Are you sharing? Are you sharing the cake with your family? Are you throughout the trial and error process, are you saying no, never, no? I don't want to subject you to this one. I'm gonna eat this one
No.
for
Yeah,
myself.
they have definitely. Yeah, I'm on my 5th pineapple upside down cake, probably in as many weeks. So I will say that I probably want it eating more than half of it. Pineapple upside down cake, I find to be something very difficult to eat one piece of. You know, I literally, and when I say piece, I'm talking a pretty good sized square going on here. But I literally probably eat two pieces per serving. You can't eat one. You really can't. Yeah, you got to have 2 or 3 pieces of pineapple upside down cake. 3 sometimes. I try to stay away from 3. I have eaten 3. When I was at Bridgeton, oh my God, because they had the ratio. I have got to reduplicate and get their ratio. But when they had the ratio, I could sit and eat 4 and 5. It probably was a close second behind Rice Krispie treats.
How
which
much more?
On occasion I have been known to eat a tray of. It's amazing I'm not like 600 pounds.
I was going to say,
For pineapple upside down cake, I think my record is 5 or 6 pieces in a sitting.
I was going to ask, how much more physical activity were you getting at Bridgeton than you are now?
I worked out regularly at Bridgeton. I was single and I was still young, quote unquote young. I was in my 20s. I was not yet shaving my head.
I was going to say you had hair.
I was in the backwoods of Maine. School, it's 158 guys, so there wasn't a lot of like reason to work out, but I did work out. So hey, we all find ways to get by. I ate pineapple upside down cake. I ate trays of Rice Krispies. I had to burn the energy somehow.
The Craig O'Rourke method. Craig, love our cooking segment now. This has become a
still 1-0 right now. Arsenal at the half.
I know. I wasn't going to bring it up again, but there you go.
We're top of the table. You understand? This is match day 3 in Europa League. We've won the first 2 matches. This is our first leg against Mold. Oh wait! It's 1-1.
1-1 now.
Then I missed the equalizers. This is what happens. You get me talking about pineapple upside down cake. and ribs and Ice Krispie treats, and I missed the equalizer.
Well, we will let you get to rewatching that, and
I gotta go back in the stream now
and enjoying the rest of the game. But
thank you. Bye.
Always a pleasure.
Seahawks. Bye, Salve Land.
That is Craig O'Rourke II, head coach of our men's soccer team. Always a thrill to have Craig on the program. We're going to go right to our producers, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, to close out today's show. I think Ed Habshaw summed it up nicely. Meanwhile, back to Upside Down Pineapple Sponge Cake. That pretty much sums it up, right?
Yeah. That was about the I think the theme of that last interview there. I've never had that, but now after hearing Craig, I'm just going to do whatever he recommends from now on. It seems to have worked out well for him, so I'm going to do the pineapple sponge cake. I wanted to get his take on almond joys again, because it seemed like he had more to give there when he said this last weekend. He said, "I don't care for almond joy," but we'll get to that at some point.
Well, that we don't have time left in the program to revisit the candy thing, but we will put it on the docket. Keep that one in the can. We'll revisit almond joy again next week, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of Thanksgiving food conversation to come with Craig as well. Any other thoughts or things, Joey? Were you able to find this NASA space signal thing that I was alluding to before?
In terms of the docket, the NASA thing. Not important. It's a bunch of fancy words. I don't know. What I did do is I found where that picture was from. If
we talk about the Newport Daily News stock photo.
If this whole media thing doesn't work out, I'm gonna be a great detective. So found the original image. It is called Group of Friends in Masks Praying Over Christmas Thanksgiving. That's not helpful. But then I was like, oh, well, who's this guy? This is the photographer. So I went to his website and I found all the pictures. And it is very clearly Christmas.
He's got a clear niche right here. Just all.
Wait, go back up. Was that a bagel bite? Go back up. Did I see a bagel bite? Keep going up.
Where?
Keep going up. What looked like a bagel bite? Right there.
These?
Oh, no, never mind.
Dumpling.
Yeah, I thought it was a bagel bite.
So he's got like themed Shutterstock things. Now, I just want to bring attention to my favorite picture of his, which is clearly some sort of Polish tradition, because it is, Group of friends celebrating Christmas by pulling crackers. I don't know what that means. And also this woman is having much too much fun pulling crackers from, it's got to be a Polish thing. because it's some Polish guy. Also, it does say Merry Christmas in the background. You can tell in this one.
I was gonna say
So-
this pulling, the pulling crackers also probably not happening this year because of coronavirus.
No cracker pulling this year.
Well,
Sorry for the
Joey,
Polish.
hands off to the detective work there.
I would
Also, I guess shots fired at the Newport Daily News, but everybody uses stock photos. That's the point of stock photos.
it had the word Thanksgiving in it.
So
in the description. Yeah, I looked at the actual picture and I was like, it said Christmas Thanksgiving, and I went, well, that's not helpful. And I saw the guy's name and I went, oh, I might as well Google him and see what happens. And then the rabbit hole.
Awesome stuff. All right, fellas, great stuff. We will get going now, and we'll get ready for tomorrow's program, Friday. Look at that, a week.
Yeah, Friday.
Poof.
There you go.
Already
Bye,
almost
just
gone.
like that.
All right, so take it easy now. That is Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. Investigative reporter Joey Morelli, digging deep, getting us the answers that we so need. I want to thank all of our guests here today. We had head coach Kevin Gilmartin from our football team, joined by running backs Joey Moriello and Robert Gomes, Sebastian Nordsey, the head coach of our women's volleyball team, and Craig O'Rourke II, the head coach of our men's soccer team. Once again, we are live every day, 3 to 4 p.m. here on the Salve Athletics Network. That is Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Through Twitter, you can go back, follow, subscribe, all those platforms to go back and watch any episode of the show. And if you want to also take Seahawk Talk on the go, you can subscribe to the Seahawk Talk podcast through Sounder FM or your favorite podcasting app. Well, that'll do it for us here today. I'm Andy Pizzelli. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the show. We'll be back tomorrow to round out the week. Have a good night, everybody.